let's try to pivot and recap some NWSL matches. We have some bangers to talk about. We have to start with this West Coast rivalry. I think this is the game that we need to kick off the recaps with because it's really the game that kicked off and set this weekend in motion. San Diego Wave versus Angel City. Angel City, not a lot of travel in this one. It's just a SoCal rivalry, and maybe that benefited them because they went in to Snapdragon Stadium and took all 3 points, walking away with a dub, and did it in incredible fashion. 2-1 the scoreline, snapping San Diego's unbeaten streak in first loss in 7 games. You love to see it. That's what I was left with after watching this game, Lori. I was like, an 11th ranked team taking it to the top ranked team, first place at the time going into this week. I was like, I love it here, man.
Yeah, it wasn't even nighttime, and it was NWSL chaos. So.
Yes, exactly, 100%. Yeah, I mean, look, the Wave kind of setting things in motion here, right? I think what we got with that kind of narrow that's 0-0 scoreline going into halftime. It was a big deal. I think that was beneficial. I think that benefits the opposition, right? You go in there, you keep things level. If you're the rival in this sense on the visiting side of things, you're motivated by that. You're like, all right, let's get back out there and take it to them. But we get San Diego getting on the scoreboard first a little bit early, right? In that kind of first 15-minute window of the second half, Kristen McNabb with an absolute rocket. Alex Morgan setting her up. It felt like maybe it was going to be the kind of goal that sucks a little bit of energy and life out of the other side. But that's not what happened in this one, because Angel City come on right back with a banger of their own, set piece, Paige Nielsen, and then M.A. Vignola closing it out. 2 minutes of regulation left. Assist from Scarlett Camberos. You'd love to see that for these two players. I feel like these are two players who've really been trying to build up with Angel City, and it's great to sort of see them kind of come together for that game winner for Angel City. But we talked a little bit on the preview, myself and Jordan, of this game, Lori, about some of the things that Angel City might be motivated by going into this game. Obviously, you have the rivalry. They're just 2 years in their existence, both of these clubs, but they're already building up and living up to some of the hype around it, right? So that they're motivated by that. But we also saw the recent departure of Freya Coombe. The club has moved on based on, unfortunately, poor results in the first half. And now Becky Tweed is interim head coach. And we felt, hey, that's going to be something that motivates the locker room as well. And I think we saw a little bit of that to kind of close out this second half for Angel City. Scenes. I loved it.
Yeah, I agree. And I kind of look at it as, these types of things, when you have a coaching departure or change, it can go one of two ways. And typically it goes where you see an uptick, at least for a few games, right? Until things kind of settle out and you either get a new coach or what, or you could continue on with the momentum. But that's certainly what you felt like, at least I did going into this game. You felt like, okay, this is a tough game for San Diego to face Angel City, their rivalry, just given the situation leading up to that week, because the players are going to be motivated. They're going to be motivated to play in San Diego if you're Angel City against your rivalry, who are number one at the top of the table. And you have a new coaching change, so you want to impress. But also, I would say for Angel City, there have been some good performances. They just haven't gotten the results. So you just felt like it was a matter of time. And 3 goals in this game by defenders, credit to them, because they were all great goals. But Vignola is one of those players who I felt like has really started to come in to her own this season. And I feel like in some ways, they had shifted between almost like a 3-back or hybrid. Julie Ertz comes in, provides a little bit of stability. That's when a player like Vignola, her skill set shines, because she can get forward, she can create the attack, she has caused problems whenever she's on the field. And to get the game winner, I think is such an important piece to how this Angel City wants to play and to attack. And I think that just proved it. And listen, this is a San Diego team that prides himself defensively. So to give up 2 goals at home and to do it against a rival, I mean, huge credit to Angel City. And I think those are the games that you're like, okay, we build off of, let's just, stay composed, but these are how you can build momentum going forward and start collecting points.
I'm just thinking of like this second half of the season, right? I think if you're one of those lower half table teams and even mid to lower half table
Mhm.
teams. Like this is it. Like the second half of your season is your reset button, and every single game from here on out cannot be like let's build up to it. It's almost like you're gonna have to come out with a sense of urgency in every single game,
Exactly.
and maybe that's not how you want to set yourself up, for a second half, but it is excellent. It's excellent to see that Angel City is kind of responding to all of
Yeah,
that as
agreed.
well. I mean, they've been on a losing streak, or they haven't had a win in quite some time. Actually, heading into that match themselves, and to sort of kind of turn things around. And I like all of what you're saying about Vignola, and I think it's important to kind of highlight those types of players for Angel City, because it sort of feels like those are the players that they're going to have to rely upon.
Yep.
As we, like, every team has talked about it at this point, the availability reports and players who have had to come back and return to play. But even as those players return to play, they still are building their minutes.
Yep.
So you're looking at these players who have kind of had to get a little bit of promotion from bench players to now regular starters, and have them make an impact. And I think for Vignola, someone who's been there since year one, I think you have a little bit of an opportunity there as someone who's been within the system and within the locker room to kind of have these kind of breakout games. And then for Camberos, who kind of has come in kind of early mid-season, I mean, you want to have a game where you're like, let me actually like have the game where I'm on the stat sheet, have that contribution. So I think it's big. I think it's massive that the two of them were able to link up for that game winner. And hopefully it's one of those things that maybe this is the game that kind of catapults them, or is the catalyst to kind of keep this energy going. Because as you mentioned, like with a coaching dismissal, sometimes things can go either way, and it looks like they were motivated by that. But the other thing that can kind of happen sometimes is that shine can wear off. That kind of jolt, that energy jolt kind of wears off sometimes too. So hopefully they can, contain that, maintain it, and build on into the next weeks to come. Let's recap one more game before we take a break. I really want us to talk about North Carolina Courage and Orlando Pride, because we're talking about streaks. North Carolina has one of their own. They are looking so good heading into this second half. It's a 3-0 win for the Courage over Orlando Pride. I got to shout out the chat real quick, Lori. Barry is someone who's a North Carolina fan who's always in the chat rooting on this Courage, and he predicted this scoreline. It would be Courage 3-0. I was like, wow, look at this. Barry's going to love it when we go live. Let's chat all about it. Caroline with another massive game. I'm going to put myself on blast, Lori. And in the preview that I did with Jordan, I said, you know what? I love Caroline, man. She's going to be out there doing what she's doing, but I don't know. There you go, Barry. You predicted it. I was like, but I don't know if God was going to go out there and get another hat trick. And you know what? I wasn't wrong, but she definitely went out there and got some more goals. And I was like, oh my goodness. Not only are the Courage looking dangerous, the Brazilians in this league are cranking up at the right time ahead of the World Cup. Let's talk about this match, Lori. What are your takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, you're not talking North Carolina. You're exactly right. Without talking about Caroline, I mean, she's been phenomenal. And to your point, too, all the Brazilians, I think, really starting to come together at the right time and be crazy, wildly good, right, at the World Cup. I'm excited to watch them. And the one thing that I've really enjoyed about this North Carolina team is in the years past, the best in transition. We knew about Jess McDonald, Lynn Williams, these players, unstoppable, and it was such a fun. Put teams under pressure, and then Sean Nahas and his staff having to, mix things up. A lot of departures and key personnel. Dabinia being one of those players who really drove the attack in previous years, and so they had to reassess. And you saw a little bit of that last season. Almost felt like they were caught in two minds in terms of what that looked like and how they wanted to play. And this year, solely a much more possession-oriented team that lead the league in possession. And sometimes that doesn't tell the whole picture. I think, you can have a lot of possession. And that was one of the things. I was on their call versus Washington for the Challenge Cup midweek. And I think sometimes possession doesn't tell the entire story, because great, you can keep the ball. And if you're not creating chances, what does that look like? Or if Caroline's not on the field, then what does that look like? And I think now as they start to get some pieces back, Tess Bodie, who's been leading the line, Caroline obviously up top, and then just a rotation, but Narumi in the midfield with O'Sullivan seems to be a great balance. That takes off some of the load off of O'Sullivan. So now you're starting to see, in my opinion, what's a variety of ways that they can attack. Yes, you can affect the game with possession and then gaining territory, but you also have the ability to hit them on transition. So there's a variety of ways, and it makes it really difficult for them to stop. And I think you saw that with Orlando. Started the game strong, Orlando, first 10 minutes, and then clear game plan for North Carolina to how they wanted to attack, how they wanted to really monopolize this game, and they didn't look back. In Orlando, I'll say one real quick before I let you chime in.
Yeah.
I thought Orlando last week, that was going to be their statement game against Portland to kind of build off, as we were mentioning about Angel City. Can they now use this? But they're missing Marta. We talk about Brazilians. Marta is a huge piece right now for this kind of younger, getting going, a little bit of inexperience Orlando team. And when you miss a piece like that, somebody that can control the game, help slow things down, I think you, in some ways, become a little bit predictable, one-dimensional, and I think you saw that. And North Carolina was like, "Fine, here we go."
Yeah, I think, but credit to the Courage for kind of recognizing that and kind of capitalizing on that, right? I love that you mentioned Narumi in this one. Look, I was at that game in Chicago where they put up a 5 spot on the Red Stars, and there was just something about finally getting to see the Courage live and in person. At this point, they have shown us who they are, and I respect that so much. They are a team that want to have the ball, they want to retain that possession, be on it, and go ahead and create some exciting soccer when they do have it. And I think a big part of that in retaining all of that possession is making sure that you have the players who understand that assignment and who want to do that, and getting to watch Narumi, and that was such a big component for me in watching the Courage be able to kind of recycle the ball and keep the ball in various moments. And I think right now the timing of everything, the phases of seasons, and how we're watching Caroline kind of hitting this kind of like a little bit of a heat check right now. It's a little bit of a hot streak for her, and I like it. I think the time that everything's kind of coming together, and a very good time for the Courage. And I think even at the end of this game, you sort of see it, like she just kind of has this like relentless kind of engine, and they were like, "That's enough, come on out, like you're rest," like they sub her out because it's just kind of like, all right, like you enough here. You created this chaos on a goal. They end up crediting it as an own goal to McCutcheon, but you just see this player and all of that chaos that she creates inside of the box or out wide, and it just sort of feels, it's hard to believe that that I had where I'm like, oh, it's coming together, as if it's not been coming together for weeks, right? But it just sort of feels the timing of everything, with even some of these kind of standout individual performances as well, sort of feel like they're kind of peaking at the right time a bit. So absolutely congrats in order for the Courage. They're kind of keeping their momentum going, and hopefully maybe this is that first test for Orlando. Maybe they're like, okay, we could see what it's going to look and feel like when we don't have Martha. Maybe we have to make some adjustments here. So I'm very curious to see how Orlando respond to this loss from the Courage.